So after the gameplay changes in update 4.4, today I wanted to take a look at the top 10 players in the world and see if those gameplay changes have manifested into a new meta and to see what the top 10 players are actually using. So starting off at number 10, we got this guy here. He previously finished rank 14, so he's definitely familiar with the top end of the leaderboards, and you can see he's using pretty much the same tactic I was using for the last 4 months, except he's got one of his center mids as an attacking mid, because I think if you're a really good player, you actually don't need that extra center mid. You can get away with having someone like Neymar in that role. So definitely interesting. So those two forwards there are going to get marked by the opponent's center backs, and then that second striker Yamal is usually free to run in for a first time through ball, or sometimes Yamal would be the one getting marked and it'll be Vinicius Jr. But ideally you're just trying to get both opposition center backs on the two strikers, and then it will leave someone free. He has got Jude Bellingham in there, so it's a pretty much pay to win team, but you know, one card that's achievable for free to play players in Bellingham. And I think Bellingham's a good choice just for a few reasons. One, he has long legs and he is fast and also well rounded, but the long legs help a lot for interceptions. So even if his defensive stats aren't that high, the long legs will help with that. And same with him being fast, he's able to cover a lot of ground quickly. So pound for pound, Bellingham is usually one of the best players you can get as a free to player. So if you don't use Bellingham in your team and you're free to play, I would definitely consider picking him up. But he also has Maldini on the left back position, but set as a centre back. And I think that's going to be something we see very common throughout here, which is something I actually don't really like in the game. I wish that it wasn't possible. If you're playing, I think they should have it. So if you play 3 centre backs, well, I guess they can't do that, where if you're playing 3 centre backs, you can't have a full back, because then you couldn't play 5 at the back. But I just really don't like how you can get away without having a full back. And another top player here, Taped, he's doing the same thing with Kyle Walker there. Still a traditional meta formation. He's got the anchor man sitting deep to stop the counter attacks and maintain the kind of press when you have the opponent pinned in. But when you have the ball, when he wins it back and sends it up the field, the anchor man is usually there to collect. He's also got Bellingham, who is a box-to-box, and Nedved, who's a hole player, so they're going to try and make runs in behind. But I think it's similar to the last formation. Those 3 strikers there are going to get marked by the opposition defenders, and then it'll leave someone free for a run into the box, like usually a late run. Also, I got in contact with Tape to see if he had any thoughts on if the meta changes, and he said, all I can say is I was a quick counter one-trick pony, and now I'm testing long ball counter just because of how efficient through balls and L1 triangles are. So it could benefit both defending and attacking. Overall, the L1 triangle was the biggest change. Specifically up front, a lot of times one-on-one with the keeper through the middle. Double touches and physical contact still very much meta. Defenders seem to be further apart from each other as well. So ultimately, not too much change there. Although I do understand his point about long ball counter, because if you can just send the through pass as a lofted one, sitting deep, and just having your forward players being the ones going forward might be more effective, because you'll still be able to score goals like you would before in quick counter, but you'll be a bit more defensively secure. Next player is MMD. He's someone who's using something a little bit different. He's always, again, at these top ranks when he's playing the game. I see him on Twitter a lot. He's usually unhappy with the game. I hope he's happy with this new update, because I like it a lot. But you can see he's got Platini and Schneider in. Platini is someone who's you know, very well used in this game. I think people do think he's very good. But Schneider is someone who I think is a bit underrated. Very nimble, very good shooting, and always had good pass stats, but it wasn't as important before. But the pass stats are obviously a little bit important, more important now. He's using Gasparini as his manager, but his player stats are very low. What I assume this means is he does use quick counter or long ball counter, so in game, like, his stats will be higher, but he has it set on like possession or out wide before the match, because he probably adapts his quick counter or long ball counter based on his opponent. He kind of has a look what they're using and then switches. And the reason he has it on possession first is just so he has to kind of remember every game to switch it beforehand. Like, I do that with my individual instructions. I usually don't set them before the game, just because I know, all right, if I switch and chop and change, players will take off their individual instructions. So I know every game I have to check, all right, who do I need to put these individual instructions on. So interesting there that he's using a 5 at the back, because even if those fullbacks go forward, he still has 3 centre backs to cover, because I do think if you get your fullbacks to go forward there, you can get really punished on that through ball. This guy here, the Welsh player, he's actually got Maldini set as a left back, which I like to see. I actually think it's more effective than the centre-back thing, by the way. I don't think the centre-back thing's like really overpowered. I think if you have defensive fullbacks, you're better off keeping them as a fullback, because I find that they, you know, show for the ball better when you have possession. So interesting to see that. And also interesting to see that he has Cannavaro, Araujo, and Gattuso. So that's 3 destroyers there, which sounds like a recipe for disaster. And I'd say for most people it would be. I'd say for 99% of people that's too aggressive. You're going to leave too many gaps in behind. I think when you're at a certain level, you just kind of want to have as much pressure on your opponent, because you know you're better than your opponent pretty much every time you're playing someone. And if you can force mistakes on them, you'll usually come out on top in the long run. He also doesn't have wingers. He has second strikers on Messi and Neymar, which I'm hearing a lot of people, and definitely something I agree with, that wing play is a lot more effective now. So it is interesting to see the top players are still playing that narrow stuff. I don't really think they nerfed the narrow ping pong stuff. I think it's more that Konami have made it so wing play is more viable, which, to be honest, I don't really mind. I'm happy. I don't really care what my opponents play, as long as I can play creative football and use wingers and wide players. That suits me a lot more. And he's also using Amarim, and I think the last player was using Fonseca. So that's 2 quick counter managers. And I've actually been struggling with quick counter a little bit. And I haven't played enough of it. I've played probably 25 games. I'd say 19 of them have been on possession, 1 or 2 on quick counter on the main account, and the other 5 on the free-to-play account. So probably haven't just given enough time to quick counter, but I felt like I was kind of leaving too many gaps in behind. So quick counter might have got nerfed a little bit, but I think, again, at the top level, when you've got players with these kind of talents, it doesn't matter if quick counter leaves gaps in behind, because they're going to be able to plug in those gaps. The really, really good players just kind of want to put pressure on the ball a lot, I'd say. Next player is Tess. So he is using, this is a formation that's kind of been popular for a while. I remember I used to use something similar, except I actually used to use 3 centre backs, and I'd move that Bergomi up to DMF beside Busquets. But it's definitely very effective. I think De Jong's a whole player, isn't he? So he's going to make runs in behind. I would usually use an orchestrator, because I like to kind of have someone sitting there to recycle the ball. But again, I think at the top level, it's all about the pace of play. It's all about how quickly you can kind of get passes. 1-2 is in behind. He's also using Fonseca again, so, you know, make the game quick with quick counter. I would think it's safe to say the meta really hasn't changed at the top level. Next, we've got a cross-platform player. He finished rank 1 previously, and he's playing a 4-2-2-2. He's got Hullet and Rumi up front, so both of them are going to be good in the air, especially Hullet. And Rumi is decent in the air, but also able to kind of, when the ball goes out wide there, because he doesn't have wingers, if he plays a pass out wide, Rumi's very good at running across, because he's fast, he's got decent strength, and then he's good on the ball too, and usually 2-footed. I assume this one has very high weak foot as well, so it'd be very comfortable kind of in those wider areas. This guy has actually got probably the cheapest squad out of these top players, because that Griezmann was only 1,500 points. That bully Messi came with the 2015 very high weak foot and the blue boot Messi, so he might have even only spun from one of them and just, you know, was happy with who he got. And that Messi is a deep line forward, so he is actually inactive at AMF, and I assume that Hullet is a classic 10 or a whole player as well. So I think that's actually one thing I want to mention. The playstyles aren't that important in terms of goal poacher, fox the box, creative playmaker, whole player. I think pretty much anything can work in the attack. The only thing I'd say is in DMF, I really find you do need to have a anchorman or sometimes a destroyer like Vieira. Vieira is definitely someone who, as a destroyer, I'm someone who doesn't like destroyers at all, but Vieira is so good that he gets away with it. But I think any other position on the pitch, you can kind of just use whatever player, as long as they have the proficiency in the position and good enough stats to play the type of football you want to play in that role. I think it's fine. Like we seen earlier, having Thuram or Maldini, who are both defensive fullbacks in centre back, it doesn't really cause any issues. Next player is also another cross-platform player, and again, he's playing something very similar, except he's got DMF Roberto Silva, so anchorman, and then Kante as a DMF box-to-box. But because of the box-to-box, I'd say forms pretty similar to the way that Modric was in the last formation as centre mid. He's going to go forward quite a lot, but he won't really extend past kind of where Kaká and Nedved's line is. If you have them as a centre mid, sometimes the box to box or box to box will go into the opponent's box, but when you have them as a DMF, they'll go about up to the AMF line there. He's got Del Piero with Blitz, and then Hullet again up front. A lot of people, I see a lot of people usually in the lower ranks who have Hullet play him like centre mid or DMF. I think he has to be up front. He's just so good up front because every time you play a long ball, Hullet will pretty much win it. And then he's just so two-footed. He got strong shooting, great dribbling. I think he is best used up front. Right, next player is Black Panthers, previous rank 16. And again, he's playing a 4-2-1-3. He's got acceleration burst Yamal on the right and blitz curler Son on the left. So that blitz curler, same way the previous guy had him on Del Piero, it can kind of bail you out a lot of the time. And then I think this is the first Romario we've seen, and it's actually also, I think, the first time we've seen one center forward. Every other formation had more than one center forward. Romario is a fox in the box, and fox in the boxes don't work as well when you play them with other center forwards. Gianni did a great video on it probably over a year ago now. Essentially, fox in the boxes want to make runs in behind, but mainly when they're able to be in the box. So what happens is if you have a fox in the box up front with a goal poacher, when you're at the kind of midfield, when you have the ball midfield and your opponent's defensive line is high, the goal poacher will kind of try and make runs in behind, and then the fox in the box sees that and kind of does nothing. But if you play a fox in the box on their own, their movement is a lot more often because they're not seeing the other goal poacher doing all the work and then saying, I don't need to do this anymore. And to be honest, you never really see Romario being used at this high level, but you also never really see these one center forward formations being used. So this guy kind of knows what he's doing here when he is playing Romario, playing him on his own up front. And then number 1 in the world is actually someone who's not really finished extremely high before, ranked 343. So I don't know if it's just a case of he's never had like the time or really the ambition to go for a high rank now, or if it's the new gameplay that's making him kind of play a lot better. But his tactic looks like a pretty standard meta one, to be honest, and it is quite attacking because he's got his centre mid Nedved there, who is a whole player. So again, you can really look at this team in 2 different phases. It's got the back 4 and Vieira as an anchor man, so that's one block, and then the other block is the Nedved, Barella, Vinny, Rumi and Messi. So he's kind of trying to bypass his midfield. When he gets the ball, hit up the field as quick as possible. Don't really play around with it in the midfield, because if you lose the ball in there, you get counter-attacked very easily. And then again, the narrow front 3, just to hit those 1-2s and get in behind that way. And to be fair, there is a decent mix of cross-platform and PlayStation in here. You can see the top 2 are PlayStation, but the other cross-platform players, the 3rd and 4th, are right behind them. Actually, this ace guy is a lot ahead, to be fair. But I don't think there is any real difference between PlayStation and cross-platform in terms of ability, to be honest. At the end of the day, the only different players really are going to be the pro players who are traditionally on PlayStation. But this is the tactic I'm using. I will make a video on it. You can see there is a bit of wing play, and you don't really see this based on what the top 10 players are using. I guess MMB was the kind of closest, but he had his left mid and right mid as fullbacks. But it is interesting in seeing all the managers, because out of all the top 10 players there, every single one of them has been quick counter or long ball counter. So it really looks like we haven't got a shift in the meta. It still seems to be long ball counter and quick counter. But I can say from my personal experience, I know I've drawn 4 out of my last 5 games, but they're all against high rated opponents. Possession is more effective in this new gameplay. I will be doing a tactic video on this, of course. And honestly, I wouldn't concern yourselves too much with what these top guys are using. I would play what you enjoy, because I've been having a lot more fun on possession here than using long ball and quick counter as I was before the update. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts, and bye.